Welcome back. Thanks for watching. This is going to be part 2 of 3 of my custom Lego train and train layout. In the first video, which I'll put up above or link to in my description, we talked a little bit about my layout itself and some of the track and table components. So if you want to find out more about that, just click on that. But in part 2, we're going to talk here a little bit about my rolling stock, my locomotives, to be specific, and I've got 5 that I'm going to talk about: my Union Pacific, my BNSF, my CSX, my little switcher, and then my Frisco line. So let's go ahead and start with the first one. My first custom one was the BNSF, and it was a doozy. I think it's 16 or 1700 pieces, so it was quite a behemoth to build. I did model it off of the ES44, the ES44AC locomotive by GE. This particular one would have been produced in the early 2000s. My numbering on it is wrong. That 9000 numbering would have been from a later version of this. So I'm going to get that adjusted down to the 6000s. But nonetheless, I really did go a lot for scale and for accuracy with this one. Although it's only 6 wide, which is, you know, what the traditional Lego trains are. There's a lot of people that build their trains and their engines 8 wide. I've stuck with 6 wide simply because I'm working with and playing in a small space, and my clearances on my curves are tight enough as it is, and I just don't think I could have the overhang. Now, this one's an exception. This is 8 wide, but we'll come back to my to that loco here soon. So I really wanted to focus on getting a lot of these grills correct, getting these door panels correct, getting the look of, I don't know what's in their batteries, maybe these sorts of grills, the handrail, the shape, the style. I really aimed to get, you know, these radiators, a lot of that, the horns, as correct as I could. I did sneak in the PF receivers right there, and my power switch is right there for my battery. Both ends of this are powered, so it has 2 Lego power functions, train motors underneath. Both are powered. Now, to run 2, you have to reverse them, reverse one of them. And I did that by simply opening up the motor. And if I can find a picture, I'll throw it up here, but if not, it's relatively straightforward. You open up the motor, you unsolder 2 wires off of either side of the can motor, flip the wires over, solder them back in place, and put it back together. So it's, if you can run a soldering iron, you can reverse a Lego motor, a train motor. So that's very easy. So and then, of course, you know, I wanted a lot of the stairs and rails to have good detail. The 3 wide on the trucks, very important, just like the original has. And then we move over to the fuel tanks and whatnot. The problem with 3 wide is that 3 axles spaced that far apart will not negotiate the regular Lego curves, switches, the R54 curves, none of that. So the secret is this bottom one here has to be able to rotate separately, and you can see how that's hinged on a small turntable to allow that to articulate through the curves. It does come apart. Let's take a look here. So the cab comes off for a little bit of cockpit detail. You can see our engineer who's not paying attention. He's looking the wrong way. I've got a couple of power function plugs right there. Next up is the battery box. And you see I make my switch transparent, and it's captive in there too, so it won't fall out when I take that off. And we've got the battery right in there. And behind that, in this next section, is where I've just stuffed the wires for the power functions. And this last one back here, there's nothing back there. That's just bricks holding these 2 sides together. So really pretty straightforward build. I put a couple of chains on each end. Not technically correct, but I really kind of like the look of that. So let's put this back together real quick. Oops, not that quick. Yeah, there we go. And hello, engineer. Okay, very good. So that is this in a nutshell. Let me just lift it up so we can take a look at the bottom. And here we go, so we can get a little bit better view. So now we can see where the articulation comes from. It's just a regular little 2x2 turntable. The same thing that I use for all my trucks and all my cars. So then I got the fuel tank. Sorry, I don't have my tripod set up. So anyway, the whole model is really very robust. doesn't fall apart on me. So I only had to modify my original plans. I designed this with Lego Digital Designer LED. It was my first very complicated build in LED. It was my first custom Lego train engine, and I only had to make once I ordered all the bricks, I only had to make a couple of simple corrections to it, so I got kind of lucky with that. So BNSF, one of my favorites. Once I got that done, I kind of got the steam bug, so I went ahead and I built this Frisco. Now this one I modeled off of a local railroad, just like the BNSFs, just like this, run through my part of town in Oklahoma City. These Frisco 185 in particular, this ran a route from Enid, Oklahoma to Tulsa, Oklahoma, up until the late 40s, early 50s, actually, when this was replaced by, not that one, but a similar diesel-electric locomotive. But yeah, this survived from the late 1800s until the early 50s. En route, it's an American 440. I tried to capture as many details as I could. I found several historic photos of this locomotive, and I wanted to get good detail and accuracy, like on the headlight. Wanted to get that shield crest in there the right way. Wanted to get the cow catcher and the ladder and a little steam box and the pistons and connecting rods. I wanted to get the right number of stripes on the towers and the bell back there by the whistle. I wanted to get that looking good, and the tender decals looking good. I didn't do those myself. I had those printed up by OK Brickworks. Ohio, Kentucky Brickworks, I believe is the name. So anyway, check them out. They do great work. At the time, the engine did not run with this caboose. As a matter of fact, in some of my historic photos, and I might throw it up if I can link to it, actually, that would have run with a combination car, luggage and passenger, and a passenger coach. So the photos I have show this locomotive hooked up to the front of this, pulling those two. So I really went for some historical accuracy with that. That being said, building a steam locomotive is difficult. These things are fragile, and anybody that's built one knows. Anybody that's run one knows. I mean, look under here. There's not much to it. It's just dying to fall apart. And it does sometimes. If you run it too rough, or if you run it on tracks that it's not familiar with or doesn't like, it'll come bumbling apart. And when this thing derails, well, honestly, the front truck comes off, the cow catcher comes off, and the one or two connecting rod comes out. But aside from that, it's actually kind of robust. But I'm forever fixing that on it. I did put some details in here. We got a little happy little engineer who, again, is looking the wrong direction. He's got some details. He's got some pole chains. He's got inside here. He's got some gauges. Yeah, well, you get the drift. And then back here we've got a little coal bucket and shovel. We've got doors that open up, and you can't quite see it in this picture, but there's a little coal chute with some coal in it as well. The Lego Power Functions train motor, same as on my BNSF, the regular Lego Power Functions train motor that just drives the larger driver wheels. And then in the tender here, I have the Power Functions receiver, and then the battery, and I'll show you what the battery. So it's real easy. I just take the coal on and off. I just got a little, there's my little switch button right there. So when I put this in place, I can click it on and off, and I can see the power come on and off. So I've done that really with all of my locomotives. I can turn them all on and off externally. So tender, I tried to capture as much detail and get it shaped just the right way. A little bit of detail there on the back. Now this is 8 wide, and that was necessitated by me being able to get the correct shape of the boiler area in here, and then also have room to add side rails, which are just very prominent on the locomotive, and then out from that came the connecting rod. So while the build is actually 8 wide, let's see, 6, 8. Yeah, so the connecting rods actually come out a little bit more. So I guess it's probably closer to 9 or 10 wide, but whatever. Works out just fine. Handles my curves just fine. These two, which have the most overhang, can pass one another in opposite directions on a curve, and even this inside curve, and not hit one another. So after I built this one, my next endeavor was this one. So this was a little tiny switcher, and I wanted it because I've got so much yard space in here. I often found myself with pieces of trains, you know, maybe it was 3 of the same, or maybe they were all split up, sitting in the yard, and I just wanted a little switcher to look like it had a job. And I wanted something else to add to my radio controller. And I wanted something that was small and challenging. I still managed to get a minifig in this, and this is only 14 studs long. This is probably one of the shortest little Lego Power Functions engine that you could pretty much build. I did cheat a little bit on it. This is the regular gray battery box wrapped with a green sticker, and with this good lighting you can see that those are different shades. My camera is picking that up pretty clearly because it's on HD with HDR. To my naked eye, as I sit here in this room, I cannot tell a difference between these two greens, but on the camera I very much clearly can. So yeah, it's still there. Nonetheless, real easy little build, just a regular little Lego Power Functions motor, the Power Functions battery box, there's the power switch, we've got room for an engineer, and then there's the Power Functions IR receiver, and again some little chains here to kind of decorate the back a little bit, and put some grills on these side. Now the grills, I cheated on those too. Those are stuck on with double stick tape, but you know, whatever. If the battery box was actually brick built, then that'd be no problem, but since I cheated and used the battery box to get just such a small little build. Now this is actually based off a switcher that you would find over in England. I think it's called a BR8, and they have this very much black and yellow theme. Theirs is more angled. I just had to go for straight. But I wanted to capture the black and yellow theme. You know, the lights in the right place, the top and bottom. This side does look a little bit different than the other side, just like it does on the real one. Slightly different. And then again, the front is supposed to have some orange and black caution tape or whatever, but I just went for the yellow radiator up there on the front. So this one's not perfectly to scale, but this one was just a fun little build. Its only real limit is it's lightweight. It can pull several cars, but not a lot of cars. So after that came my next one, which is my CSX. Those of you that are sharp-eyed will recognize this as a reskin of the Lego 60052 cargo train, which is the blue Lego cargo train. So what I've done differently here is, you know, I stuck with the motor and the chassis, but then I pretty much replaced all the blue brick and reshaped it. So it does have a few of the original bricks in there, but something like 250 bricks I replaced on this. So there's not much of the original left except for the color. And I skinned it in a CSX. I modeled this off of an actual one, and I'm sorry, it's not at the tip of my tongue. Those sharp-eyed among you might know what it is, but I forget. I meant to check, and I did this more on a whim. It's not like it was something that I loved, like the BNSF or like the Frisco. So I just kind of did the best I could. And you'll recognize, is this a -9? Is this a -9? I forget. This kind of stands out. Tried to get the radiators and the fans on top correct. Now I did cheat. This is actually a vinyl sticker turning the base plate yellow. The yellow train base is, it's either not available or it's like $50 each because there's only one for sale. I forget, but either way. I just used a yellow sticker. I didn't go full detail for the rails, you know, like I did over here on my BNSF. I just left the standard Lego cheesy rails on the side because I just wanted it to look like something better than the 60052 engine as it came stock. Now this one, though, I did modify as well. This one also has dual motors. So this one's a pulling monster. This one, just like my BNSF, will pretty much pull all of my rolling stock around my tightest radiuses. So this is, again, a very strong little puller. So IR receiver, on-off switch. Actually, this whole bar here serves as the on-off switch. I got my engineer up front. Got my battery right here on the inside, so this side does come off just like the 60052 set. And there you go. You can see how I modified that a little bit on the inside. And then all of this is, of course, new too. So anyway, that was a fun little reskin. So I'm calling it custom, although it's not 100% custom. It's custom enough that you don't have one. So let's see, what next? Well, my Union Pacific. So I acquired recently the Lego 10020 Santa Fe Super Chief, the kind of rare and expensive Lego train set. I got a full set with an engine and the 3 passenger cars, and I really enjoyed them. And but Lego could have done a lot better, and you know, that was 20 odd, maybe 25 years ago that Lego came out with that, so there's been big improvements in pieces. So the Santa Fe Super Chief was originally modeled off of the EMD F6 or F7, but we're going to just call it F7. And so that's what we have here too. We have the EMD F7, we have an A unit and a B unit here. So this would have been from what, mid-early 60s, I think, late 50s, early 60s. And again, with this one, I really tried to capture a lot of the detail, the curves on the front, the sad look to the windshield. I did cheat a little bit with some stickers. I've gone back and forth. I've taken this off and just put the regular clear windshield. I put the smoked windshield on. I don't love those stickers, but it really does help capture that look, especially from a distance. Now, this one I kind of went all out with the decals. I did these myself. These are water slide decals that you buy at your craft store like Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and they're made by testers. So they're just testers, water slide decals that you print up in your inkjet printer at home, and then you spray a little bit of kind of like a set on there to keep them from running. You cut them out, dip them in hot water, slide them off the paper, and stick them. And I mean, look at them. They're pretty great. You know, considering how small that sticker is, that is pretty fine decals for the work. Now, the one disadvantage when you print your decals at home on an inkjet printer, they don't print white, obviously. They rely on white paper for the white color. Well, here we can see this is supposed to be white. The inside of the numbers are supposed to be white. But instead of paying for somebody to print these decals, I just decided to go that route, and you know what? I'm really quite happy with that. I really tried to capture the right amount of grills, these are sand doors, so what happens in real life is you take this door, or you open up the door, and then you fill this with a funnel or something, and you fill a container in here full of sand, and that sand is then dumped down onto the tracks to help the trucks and the wheels get traction. So there's a sand door here, and there's a sand door here, and that's right where they are on the real thing. And then these are doors on the real thing as well, with some windows in there. We've got the fuel tank down here. I think that's the oil tank. Here's the fill for the fuel. Again, wanted to capture the right number of wheels. Again, on this one, 2 powered motors, so one in the front and one in the back. So again, this one's a real strong puller with 2 motors in there. It pulls really well. This one also comes apart. Just pop that top off there, and he's sort of paying attention. And then the back of this just comes off real easy. And here again, I've got my switch for my power function. So I just remember on this one, I press down on the middle fan. Got my IR receiver back there. So if you look through the window, you can kind of see a cylinder, perhaps, of... Oh, the cable's in the way. Well, anyway, if you look through the window, you can see the cylinder. So in real life on this particular engine, there is room for your engineer up front here, and then there's an entry door that takes you right to the back of the crew cab. So that actually worked out scale-wise real well. Now in real life, this is a wall where my finger is, and there's a door right here and right here leading down the side. But you know, minifig, real life scale, it's just hard to capture. So I just kind of wanted to go for that sort of aesthetic there. The B unit, very, very similar. Again, in the B unit, you have the same access doors. Now, the B unit varies a little bit in that, for whatever reason, there's a window in the middle of that, but there's not in this. And then also in the B unit, they're essentially identical, so same number of fans on top, same kind of, these are radiator or fresh air fans over here on the side as well. The B unit also had, if I'm not mistaken, a steam generator or steam boiler back there, maybe to produce electricity and or steam to heat and light the cars behind it. So that's what this is supposed to represent, and that's what's in this back area of an actual B unit. And again, same fuel tank and same oil tank on this one. These trucks are not powered. In fact, on the inside of this, there's nothing. I've just made my top removable, and there again, I've made a semblance of an engine. Although in real life, this would actually be a 16-cylinder engine inside of this. It's not 8 cylinders as you see there. And same thing for this one. These had identical motors, 16-cylinder diesels that ran, I think they made 1,500 horsepower each, perhaps, something like that. So really tried to capture the correct look on this one as well. So that's it so far for my custom locomotives. I don't know if I'm going to add any more to it or not, but I wanted to take a few minutes and just kind of share some of these with you in a little bit more detail. In part 3, I'm going to look at my rolling stock in a little bit more detail and talk at length about some of those. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Click like and subscribe if you will. Thanks.